Hello, Shalom. Welcome to day 60 of the Daily Bread. We'll be reading in Exodus 21, 1 Sam 21, Psalm 65, Proverbs 29, and Luke 9. We'll be reading out of the Scriptures, 2009 version. Okay. Exodus 21 on page 79. These are the right rulings which you are to set before them. When you buy a Hebrew servant, he serves 6 years, and in the 7th he goes free for naught. If he comes in by himself, or goes out by himself, if he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children are her master's, and he goes out by himself. And if the servant truly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, let me not go out free, then his master shall bring him before Elohim, and shall bring him to the door, or to the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And when a man sells his daughter to a female servant, she does not go out as the female servants do. If she is displeasing in the eyes of her master, who has engaged her to himself, then he shall let her be ransomed. He shall have no authority to sell her to a foreign people because of him deceiving her. And if he has engaged her to his son, he is to do to her as the right of daughters. And if he takes another wife, her food, her covering, and her marriage rights are not to be diminished. And if he does not do these three for her, then she shall go out for naught without silver. He who strikes a man so that he dies shall certainly be put to death. And if he did not lie in wait, but Elohim delivered him into his hand, then I shall appoint for you a place where he is to flee. But when a man acts presumptuously against his neighbor to kill him by treachery, you are to take him even from my slaughter place to die. And he who strikes his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death. And he who kidnaps a man and sells him, or if he is found in his hand, shall certainly be put to death. And he who curses his father or his mother shall certainly be put to death. And when men strive together, and one strikes the other with a stone or with his fist, and he does not die, but is confined to his bed, if he arises again and walks about outside with his staff, then he who struck him shall be innocent. He only pays for lost time and sees to it that he is completely healed. And when a man strikes his male or female servant with a rod so that he dies under his hand, he shall certainly be avenged. If he remains alive a day or two, he is not avenged, for he is his property. And when men strive, and they shall smite a pregnant woman, and her child come out, yet there is no injury, he shall certainly be punished according as the woman's husband lay upon him, and he shall give through the judges. But if there is injury, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, lash for lash. And when a man strikes the eye of his male or female servant and destroys it, he is to let him go free for the sake of his eye. And if he knocks out the tooth of his male or female servant, he is to let him go free for the sake of his tooth. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, then the ox shall certainly be stoned, and his flesh not eaten, and the owner of the ox is innocent. However, if the ox was previously in the habit of goring, and its owner has been warned, and he has not kept it confined so that it killed a man or woman, the ox is stoned, and its owner also put to death. If a sin covering is laid upon him, then he shall give the ransom for his life. Whatever is laid on him, whether it has gored a son or gored a daughter, according to his right ruling, it is done to him. If the ox gores a male or female servant, he is to give to their master 30 shekels of silver and an ox, and the ox is stoned. And when a man opens a pit, or if a man digs a pit, and does not cover it, and an ox or a donkey fall in it, the owner of the pit is to repay. He is to give silver to their owner, and the dead beast is his. And when the ox of the man smites the ox of his neighbor, and it dies, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the silver from it, and also divide the dead ox. Or if it was known that the ox was previously in the habit of goring, and its owner has not kept it confined, he shall certainly pay ox for ox, while the dead beast is his. Samuel 21. 1 Samuel 21 on page 304. And David came to Nob, to Amalek, the priest. And Amalek trembled when he met David, and asked him, "Why are you alone, and no one is with you?" And David said to Amalek the priest, "The sovereign has commanded me a word, and said to me, Let no one know whatever of the word about which I send you, and which I have commanded you. And I have directed my young men to such and such place. And now, what do you have on hand? Give 5 loaves into my hand, or whatever is found." And the priest answered David and said, "There is no ordinary bread on hand, but there is set apart bread, provided the young men have kept themselves from women." And David answered the priest and said to him, "Truly women have been kept from us about 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are set apart." And it was ordinary mission, and also it was set apart in the vessel today. Then the priest gave him set apart bread, so that there was no bread there except the showbread, which he had been taken from before Yahweh, in order to be put hot bread in on the day it was taken away. Now one of the servants of Shaul was there that day, detained before Yahweh, and his name was Dogan, an Edomite. the chief of the herdsmen who belonged to Shaul. And David said to Amalek, Is there not here on hand a spear or a sword? For I have brought neither my sword nor my weapons with me, because the matter of the sovereign was urgent. And the priest said, The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you struck in the valley of Elah, see, it is wrapped in a garment behind the shoulder garment. If you would take it, for there is none other except this one here. And David said, There is none like it, give it to me. And David rose and fled that day from before Shaul and went to Achish, the sovereign of Gath. And the servants of Achish said to him, Is this not David, the sovereign of the land? Did they not sing of him to each other in dances, saying, Shaul struck his thousands and David his 10,000s? And David took these words to heart and was very much afraid of Achish, the sovereign of Gath, and changed his behavior before them, and feigning madness in their hands, and scratched at the doors of the gate, and let his saliva run down on his beard. Then Achish said to his servants, Look, you see the man is acting like a madman. Why do you bring him to me? Am I short of madmen, that you have brought this one to act as a madman near me? Should this one come into my house? Psalm 65 on page 681. To you, stillness, praise in Zion, O Elohim, and to you a vow is paid. To you who hear all prayer, all flesh comes. Crooked matters are mightier than I. As for our transgressions, you do cover them. Blessed is the one you choose, and bring near to dwell in your courts. We are satisfied with the goodness of your house, your set-apart Hekel. By awesome deeds in righteousness you answer us. O Elohim of our deliverance, the trust of all the ends of the earth and the distant seas, who established the mountains by his will, by his strength, being girded with might, who stills the roaring of the seas, the roaring of the waves, the uproar of the people. And they who dwell in the furthest parts are afraid of your signs. You make the outgoings of the morning and the evenings rejoice. You have visited the earth and watered it. You greatly enriched it. The river of Elohim is filled with water. You provide their grain, for so you have prepared it. Its ridges have been filled. Its furrows have been deepened. You make it soft with showers. You bless its growth. You have crowned the year with your goodness, and your path drips with fatness. The pasture of the wilderness strip, and the hills are girded with rejoicing. The meadows are dressed in flocks, and valleys covered with grain. They shout for joy and sing. End of End of Psalms 65. On to Proverbs 29 on page 755. One often reproved, hardening his neck, is suddenly broken, and there is no healing. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wrong ones rule, the people sigh. He who loves free wisdom gladdens his father, but a companion of whores destroys wealth. A sovereign establishes a land by right ruling, but one who receives bribes throws it down. A man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his own feet. An evil man is ensnared by transgression, but the righteous sings and rejoices. The righteous knows the plea of the poor. The wrong does not understand such knowledge. Scoffers ensnare a city, but the wise turn away wrath. When a wise man disputes with a foolish man, whether he rages or laughs, there is no peace. Bloodthirsty men hate the perfect and seek the life of the straight. A fool lets out all his breath, but the wise keeps it back, calming it down. If a ruler listens to lying words, all his servants become wrong. The poor man and the oppressor have this in common: Yahweh gives light to the eyes of both. The sovereign who rightly rules the poor with truth, his throne is established forever. A rod and reproof gives wisdom, but a child unrestrained brings shame to his mother. When the wrong become many, transgression increases, but the righteous look on their fall. Discipline your son, and he brings you rest and delight to your life. Where there is no vision, the people are let loose, but blessed is he who guards the Torah. A servant is not disciplined by words. Though he understands, he does not respond. Have you seen a man hasty in his words? There is more expectancy for a fool than for him. He who deals tenderly with his servant from youth has him as a son at the end. A man of displeasure stirs up strife, and a master of rage has many of transgression. The pride of man brings him low, but the humble in spirit obtains esteem. He who shares with a thief hates his own life. He hears an oath but does not report. The fear of man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in Yahweh is set on high. Many seek the face of a ruler, but right ruling for man comes from Yahweh. An unrighteous man is an abomination to the righteous, and he who is straight in the way is an abomination to the wrong. Luke 9, a big chapter. So, I'm on page 995. And having called his taught ones together, he gave them power and authority over all demons and to heal diseases. And he sent them to proclaim the reign of Elohim and to heal the sick. And he said to them, take no matter at all for the journey, neither staffs, nor bag, nor bread, nor silver, neither have 2 undergarments. And whatever house you enter, stay there, and go out from there. And as for those who did not receive you, when you go out of that city, shake off the dust from your feet as a witness against them. And going out, they went through the villages, bringing the good news and healing everywhere. And Herod's, the district ruler, heard of all that was done by him, Yeshua, and was perplexed, because it was said by some that John had been raised from the dead, and by some that Elijah had appeared, and by others that one of the old prophets had risen up. And Herod said, John I have beheaded, but who is this, of whom I hear such reports? And he was seeking to him. He was seeking to see him, Yeshua. And the emissaries, when they had returned, related to him all that they had done. And he took them, and they withdrew by themselves to a city called Bethsaida. And when the crowds knew it, they followed him. And having received them, he was speaking to them about the reign of Elohim, and healed those who had need of healing. And as the day began to decline, the 12 came and said to him, "Send the crowd away. What is going into the surrounding villages and country? They may have lodge and get food, because here we are in a lonely place." But he said to them, "You give them to eat." And they said, "We have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fishes, unless we go and buy food for all these people." And there was about 5,000 men. And he said to his tall ones, "Make them sit down in groups of 50. And he did so, and made them all sit down. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, having looked up to the heaven, he blessed and broke them, and gave them to the taught ones to set before the crowd. So they all ate and were satisfied. And 12 baskets of the 12 pieces, of the broken pieces, were picked up by them. And it came to be, as he was alone praying, the taught ones were with him. And he asked them, saying, "Who do the crowds say that I am?" And they answering said, "John the Immerser, John the Baptist. But others, Elijah. And others say, one of the old prophets has risen up." And he said to them, "And you? Who do you say I am?" And Peter answering, "The Messiah of Elohim, the Hamashiach." And strictly warning them, he commanded them to say this to no one. Saying, "The Son of Adam has to suffer much, and has to be rejected, by the elders and chief priests and scribes, and to be killed, and to be raised the 3rd day." And he said to them all, "If anyone wishes to come after me, let them deny himself, and take up his stake daily, and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake shall save it. And what is a man profited if he gains all the world and is himself destroyed or lost? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words, of him the Son of Adam shall be ashamed when he comes in his glory, and in his Father's, and of the set apart messengers. But truly I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death at all till they see the reign of Elohim." And it came to be about 8 days after these words, talking with him, and it came to be about 8 days after these words, taking with him Peter and John and James, he went up to the mountain to pray. And it came to be as he prayed, the appearance on his face changed, and his garment dazzled white. And see, 2 men were talking with him, who were Moshe and Elijah. Who, having appeared in a steam, spoke of his death, which he was about to complete in Jerusalem. But Peter and those with him were heavy with sleep, and having awakened, they saw his esteem and the two men standing with him. And it came to be, as they were parting from him, Peter said to Yeshua, Master, is it good for us to be here? And let us make 3 booths, one for you, one for Moshe, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. And as he was saying this, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. And a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, the beloved, hear him. And when the voice had spoken, Yeshua was found alone. And they were silent, and reported to no one in those days any of what they had seen. And it came to be on the next days, when they came down from the mountain, that a large crowd met him, and see a man from the crowd cried, and see a man from the crowd cried out, saying, Teacher, I beg you, look at my son, for he is my only child. And see, a spirit seizes him, and he suddenly cries out, and it convulses him with foaming, and scarcely leaves him, bruising him. And I begged your taught ones to cast out, but they were unable. Yeshua answering said, O generation unbelieving and perverse, how long shall I be with you and put up with you? Bring your son here. And he was still coming. The demon threw him, and as he was still coming, the demon threw him down in convulsions. And Yeshua rebuked the unclean spirit, and healed the child, and gave him back to his father. And they were all amazed at the greatness of Elohim. And while they all were marveling at all that Yeshua did, he said to his taught ones, Lay up in your ears these words, for the Son of Adam is about to be delivered into the hands of men. But they did not understand this saying, and it was veiled from them so that they did not perceive it. And they were afraid to ask him about the saying. And a reasoning arose among them, who might be the greater of them. And Yeshua, having seen the reasoning of the heart, took a little child and placed him by his side, and said to them, Whoever receives this little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. For he who is least among you shall be great. And John answering said, Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him, because he does not follow with us. And Yeshua said to him, Do not forbid him, for he who is not against us is for us. And it came to be, when the days of his taking up were being completed. I'm going to repeat that. And it came to be, when the days of his taking up were being completed, even he set his face to go to Jerusalem. And he sent his messengers ahead of him, and they went and entered into a village of Shemaim to prepare for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was set for the journey to Jerusalem. And his taught ones, James and John, seeing it, said, Master, do you wish us to command fire? Do you wish Let me start over again. And his taught ones, James and John, seeing it, said, Master, do you wish us to command fire to come down from the heaven and destroy them, as also Elijah did? But having turned, he rebuked them and said, You do not know of what spirit you are. For the Son of Adam did not come to destroy men's life, but to save them. And they went out to another village. And it came to be as they journeyed on the way, that someone said to him, Master, I shall follow you wherever you go. And Yeshua said to him, The foxes have holes, and the birds of the heavens nests, but the Son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. And he said to another, Follow me. But he said, Master, let me first go and bury my father. And Yeshua said to him, Let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and announce the reign of Elohim. And another also said, Master, I shall follow you, but let me first say goodbye to those in my house. But Yeshua said to him, No one, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the reign of Elohim. The end of Luke 9. Shalom. Make it a great day. Read your Bible. Talk to the Father.